Hi, good afternoon, everyone. This is Siddharth Kumar from Third Eye Techno Solutions. I hope everyone is able to see me right now. We'll be starting with today's session, or as I may say, today's webinar, which is totally based on uh, forensic triaging using our KAPE, which stands for your Kroll Artifact Parser and Extractor. So I hope that everyone is able to see the presentation clear. Right. So let us establish what are the webinar agendas which we will be covering right now. So this 1 hour webinar consists of what is KEEP, how we will be accessing the evidence in order to leverage the power of KEEP, then what understand what are targets and modules, then how to update the KEEP tool or the Kroll artifact parser extractor. Then there are two several things when it comes upon your triaging purposes. One is your local acquisition, which means you are working on a system which is in front of you. The other one is your remote acquisition, meaning you're sitting at a place which you do not, where you do not have the access to the target system, but yet somehow, even when you're not present at the crime scene or anywhere else, which from which you need to acquire the target, you're sitting somewhere else, and from there only you're collecting the data required. So the first question or the first thing which pops up in our mind is what is CAPE actually? So yeah, okay, we get this that we are, going through this webinar of triaging using CAPE. But the first question which pops up is what is CAPE? So KAPE, which stands for the Kroll Artifact Parser and Extractor, is basically a multi-function program that is primarily aimed at collecting the files, in which we'll talk about further a bit, where you collect these files using targets, what we call as targets. And then after those files have been collected, we process those files with one or more programs which are accumulated within this KAPE program. When we process those, we are actually using the module section. So why why should we use KAPE? First of all, it is free. It is free for almost everyone. Okay. So if you are an individual who wants to start with something that you want to learn about what is triaging and what are the things it comes with. So it is free for individuals, it is free for organization, and it is free for your research purposes. The only time CAPE is not free for use is when that company or that organization is engaged in some sort of paid agreement. In that case, CAPE is not free, of course. Then the next point, why should we use CAPE is it is fast. I'll give you an example over here. For example, you have a particular system which has 500 GB of storage, for example, and you want to get the most critical data out of it, the data which is quite useful for your case. So in that scenario, what you can do is CAPE has the ability to acquire the most critical uh, artifacts, which is relevant to your cases in a matter of seconds or minutes, depending upon the type of data you have requested. It is open source in nature. It has a big asterisk over here, which means that the targets and modules which it uses are basically open source, meaning they are well documented. You can even create your own targets, you can even create your own modules, and they're openly available at GitHub. The executable, the CAPE executable itself is not open source in nature. It is being made by a company called as Kroll, KROLL. Okay. Then CAPE uses terminology such as targets and modules, and these targets and modules are basically written in an YAML format. And this YAML, you do not need a high technical knowledge in order to create these targets and modules or use one of these. It is basically a human readable format which can easily make sense. I'll just show you in a bit how does this targets and modules look. Then other point why should I use CAPE is it actually helps you to collect key artifacts for which are most critical to a case. Sometimes you do not need a whole forensic image for your case, and you just require certain artifacts only, which will make or break a case, right? So CAPE helps you to find those key artifacts and extract those key artifacts. Then you have KAPE identifies those artifacts, it analyzes in just a matter of few minutes. As I told you before, it can be even seconds. It can also be used for remote collections. As I've discussed with you before, remote collection is something where you're not currently present at the physically present at a particular scene of crime or wherever the target is present, but you are acquiring it from somewhere you're sitting at. It might be that you are acquiring a system which is currently in Delhi and you're sitting in Kerala right now. So in that case, you are sitting in Kerala and acquiring the the computer which is in Delhi. So you are remotely acquiring it. Then it is portable in nature. What do I mean by portable in nature? It is basically like just download KAPE, set it according to your needs, put it onto a USB drive, and you can even give it or hand over it to a non-technical person also. And in this case, if you, as you can see over here, I have mentioned underscore cape.cli file. It is very simple to create. It is predefined options which has have been set by a technical user for the non-technical user. What they have to do is they have to just click on this cape.exe file. It will find this particular file and it will run accordingly. One of the big pointers for KAPE is that it is frequently updated by the community, meaning it is not like a particular tool was created and it was left for like 3 5 years or for a long time and it has not been updated since then. No, that is not the case in KAPE. It is frequently updated by the community. Then small disclaimer: when I talk about KAPE is a forensic tool for your triaging, I also need to specify what KAPE is not. It is not the KAPE tool which I'm talking about. KAPE is not intended to replace your existing forensic tools. You might have heard of forensic tools such as your Magnet Axiom, NCASE, Forensic Toolkit, and many other forensic tools. KAPE is not intended to replace such existing forensic analysis tool. It is just another tool which you can keep it in your arsenal to help you with the quick collection and triage, right? So, okay, I got to know what KAPE is a bit, what are the benefits of it. Now, where can I get it? So simply what you have to do is you have to go to any web browser which you like. It can be your Firefox, it can be your Chrome, it can be your Microsoft Edge also. You just have to go there, type KAPE, download. And after that, you will be presented onto the website, which I have shown in the small GIF below. So over here, you'll see that button called as download key. Just click on that, fill the form over here, which asks for your first name, last name, company, then your title, work email, and region. After you click on download now, a link will be shared to you over via the email, from which you can just click and you can download KAPE, right? So let us now understand what KAPE is, right? Okay. So the basic workflow KAPE works on is just like any other forensic tool. You need to have a target in which there should be a source, there should be a destination from where you want to pick the data and where do you want to put the data, right? So we were talking about targets and modules, right now. So when we use targets, right, the target section, we specify the tool that we want to acquire data from a target source. It can be your live system, it can be your even image also, forensic image also. We'll come on to that in a bit. Then if we are using module section, that module section signifies or tells the KAPE that we need to process the data from the source. Now the source can be again can be your live system or it can be your image, right? What if I use both of these options together? Then it actually signifies or it commands the tool that first the user will be acquiring data from a particular source. It will be dumping onto a particular folder. From there, when the acquisition is complete, use the module section or use the programs within those module section to process that acquired data now from the target source. As you can see over here in the flowchart, if a small flowchart, when I talk about source, it is your live system or mounted image. I tell KAPE what are the specific options I want to run on or what the data I want to acquire. Once that is done, I need to specify destination where I want to store this particular data which I am acquiring right now. After that, I will again specify KAPE what are the processing options I need to run. In this case, it is module. After that, I need a place, or Cape needs a place to dump the processed output also. So in that case, this is your module output, which will, dump all of the processed data uh, in the uh, in the folder you have, specified. So over here is an example of how your Cape window might look like. So if I turn on the GCape executable, the G in this GCape stands for graphical. So it is a GUI or GUI, as some may say, GUI based tool. So over here, I've already marked what are the necessary options which you need to select in order to leverage the power of Cape. So the first thing over here is that when I talk about I need to acquire a data, I need to tick this option, use target options. Once that is done, just like any other forensic tool, whether you're using it for imaging or whether you're using it for any other thing, you need to specify the source and the destination over here. So in this case, since most of the relevant the triage data which is important to my case reside on drive C, in which majority of the time the operating system is installed. So I have specified over here that this is my source. Now, in the next option where it states target destination, I have specified where I want these extracted files to be put. After that, in the second pointer, you can see the profiles I'm using for acquiring the relevant data from the target source. We'll come on to that. What this KAPE triage consists of. What are the things which it acquires when I select this particular profile. After that, since I'm using the modules option over here also, it means that whatever the module source is will be same as the target destination. It means module will directly pick whatever there is existing in the target destination. After that, we need to specify where should I put this parsed output, and how do I need to parse it out? I need to specify a sort of module or a parser. So, okay, just a second. So once I select the specific or the parser which I want to use, after that I need to, select the export format. Now, export format, it can be according to your need. Do you want it to be in a CSV or a comma separated value format, which is your basically an Excel sort of entries? Whether do you want it in HTML format? In this, you will be presented via web browser. Internet is not required at all. Then you have another form of export format which is called as JSON, right? After that, the last option over here says other options, in which I have selected the debug messages. Debug messages are quite important when you want to view a lot of information, like what is the current status of my extraction going on, acquisition of the parsing. Are there any specific files which have been skipped? Are there any sort of errors or any sort of troubleshooting also which you might encounter after using this? Once that is done, you can simply click on execute, and then your tool will start to work upon the options you have selected, right? Now, let us come on to how to access those evidence, right? We got to see how the GUI of CAPE looks like, but we also need to know how to access those evidence. So in order to tell CAPE that my evidence is residing over there. Now, there are two ways to access your evidence. It can be your live system, as I've mentioned before, or you can mount images using Arsenal Image Mounter. It is not just Arsenal Image Mounter. You have to always use Arsenal Image Mounter. You can use any image mounters also. You can use FTK Images for mounting your images, or any other forensic tool which allows you to mount images. The only reason I've mentioned Arsenal Image Mounter over here is because Cape works well when I'm mounting images via Arsenal Image Mounter. A screenshot has been, I have just put a screenshot over here for you to get a look how basically an Arsenal Image Mounter looks like. So what if I had an image like an E01 image? What I can simply do is I can click on this mount disk image option. I can specify what type of image do I have. In this case, it is lone wolf.e01. I simply click on that. It will give me a pop-up whether do you want to mount this or not. Simply click on yes. And just like you plug in your normal pen drive and it shows as a removable drive, it will simply show you as similarly as that only on your file explorer. So this is how your image would look like. It is actually attached to your computer, and thus Cape will also acknowledge that, right? So the most common workflow, whether you, if it is highly recommended, if you are a new user or a newbie who is just starting up with Cape or any forensic sort of investigations or triaging, the most common workflow you can work with is when I talk about the target side, I will be mentioning the KAPE triage target profile. When I talk about the parsing section or the module section, the most widely used module is your easy parser module. As the name suggests, easy. Although easy stands for your Eric Zimmerman, but for your easy understanding, you can simply think of it as it includes all of those parsers which are commonly used. So therefore, you can use it as easy. Normal E is SY1. Okay, just a minute. Right. So let us now understand what are targets and what are modules in KAPE. When we talk about targets, now targets are basically collection of your relevant files in directory. As I stated before, that when you go on a see crime, right? Most of the times you have an idea of what you're looking for, right? According to the need of the case, you might already, shortlist what all the relevant data you need to find or what are the relevant files you need to find, right? So in that case, targets help you with that. It allows you to collect those relevant files or even the directories itself. It is predefined and customizable. You have certain predefined targets well already, made for you, so that you just have to, select those and just click on execute and it will start to acquire. Or if you are technical in nature and you want to create your own target, you can do so. I'll just show you how to do that. Then these targets are written in YAML. These are easily understandable. It is very easy to understand. It is, you do not require to be highly technical in nature or highly trained to understand any sort of language. It is quite easily understandable. It is CAPE is also capable of retrieving files that have been logged by the operating system. Meaning, whenever you are working on Windows based systems, and for example you want to acquire your registry hives or registry files, if you manually go on to that particular location and just click copy and try to paste it on your USB, the operating system or the Windows API it uses will not allow you to do so. Since Windows is actively adding data to it and it is utilizing that those registry hives to for the optimization of its own operating system, therefore it will not allow you to retrieve those files. But when you use CAPE, it has the capability to retrieve even those files also which have been logged by the operating system. How does it do that? There are two steps which generally CAPE performs. The first step is your normal forensic copy paste, right? In layman terms, we can say copy paste. Now, when we are copy pasting and CAPE comes across these logged files, operating system then also tells CAPE that no, you cannot copy these files because it is being used by the operating system. So what it will do is it will put that particular file into a secondary queue, and after it is done with the first step, it will again come on to the second step. And now instead of going via the regular means, it will actually treat that particular disk as a raw disk. You can consider it as your imaging, forensic imaging, where you get a raw level access. Since you're getting, since the tool is getting the raw level access, they can easily, grasp those registry hive files or any other logged files and you know uh, present it on your output folder. Okay. When the next thing is that the cape actually maintains the original timestamps and the metadata, which is quite crucial when it comes to your forensic triaging or forensic cases. Why? Because any sort of mismanagement of evidences might tamper the timestamps or the metadata, and thus any sort of evidence you have acquired will be of no use when it goes for any sort of investigation purposes, or even if it goes in the court of law, right? Then KAPE targets, how can you identify that the particular file you have is a KAPE target or the KAPE module? A small hack is that just simply look at the extension. If the extension says .tcape, then it is basically a KAPE target. And if it states .mcape, which I will be coming on to in a bit, that would mean that I am looking at the KAPE module file, right? So how do I access those targets? So the first method is, whenever I download my KAPE, what I have to do is I just have to get to a particular location. There will be a specific folder named as targets. Just open that folder. After opening that, you'll see several other folders within it. That, as you can see in the left hand, the left section, which states disabled, antivirus, apps, browser, compound, logs, P2P, and Windows. All of these folders contains your .tcape files. You can even open them, and these tcape files are so easy to use and read that you can even you do not need specialized software to view these files. They can be easily opened onto your notepad also, or edited in notepad, right? The next method would be while accessing these target options on the gcape, the GUI interface of KAPE. You can see over here, it states basic collection, sans triage, dollar boot, your NTFS files and all, right? Then let us talk about KAPE modules. So what are KAPE modules? So KAPE modules are basically mechanisms which are used to run programs. These programs are not GUI based. Please keep that in mind. These are command line tools. That is why they are more preferably used. Okay. So it is a mechanism to run these command line programs onto the collected files, which can be collected via the target section of KAPE, or it can be used on the live system directly also. These are also predefined and customizable in nature because these are also written in YAML. So you can easily understand and customize it according to your needs, according to your case profile. And you also get those predefined specific modules, just like your easy parser. Okay. It even has the ability to run programs on a system from a live response perspective, as I told you right now as well. Okay. So the KAPE modules have .mcape extension. So if I present you with two files, one has .tcape, other one has .mcape. So T in that tcape stands for target, M in mcape stands for modules. So you can tell those two apart, that one is meant for target section, one is meant for module section. So what are modules? These are actually the processing of the artifacts you have collected. Meaning, I'll just shed some light onto it once again. Suppose you acquired registry hives from a Windows system. So what is the actual processing? The actual processing is that KAPE will read what are the contents within those registry hives. It will create a CSV file or any export format file you have, specified it, and it will, plot each and everything onto, if let us say it is CSV, it will plot it into specific columns like the date, what are the information, and what is the location, each and everything for you. Okay. Okay. The next thing over here is it is grouped in categories. Now, what do I mean by categories? If you see over here, it says that it if I okay. So as you can see over here, the on the right hand side of the screenshot, I have selected the module named as Easy Parser. Once I double click on it, I have the ability to see what all executable it will be running on my uh, acquired data. So if I zoom in a bit, category over here says modules. So what does it mean is that a specific folder will be named with the name of modules, and thus that specific folder will be containing all of that relevant data. So if I say it is grouped in categories, it means that the folder name would be using this specific category, nothing else. So the next thing is, how do I access those modules? So one way to access these modules is just simply, locate wherever you have downloaded the KAPE uh, directory or the software. Okay. Then what you do is simply open the module specific folder, and over there you can see there are several other folders, as we just saw it on in the target folder, that there are certain folders, subfolders such as your disabled apps, bin, compound, easy tools, cape research, cape sync, video, windows. The other option to view these modules is via the graphical user interface of cape. Okay. So now a question arises, what if I am so technically capable that I've created my own parser and I want cape to use it while I'm processing it, while I'm processing the acquired data. So KEP allows you to use your own parsers also. How can you do that? Simply put the program which you have created, the executable you have created in this bin folder you see over here. In this bin folder you see over here, just put your executable within that and create a module specific to this so that it can use this particular module, and you are done with it. Cape will automatically use your parser when it will come across that specific data which you have created the parser for. So the next step in learning how to work with Cape is updating Cape. It is quite crucial to update Cape before working on a case. Why? Because it is, as I've stated before, it is frequently being updated by the community. So in order to get the maximum amount of, support, or, there's no hiccups in between. So you need to update Cape before using it on your case or any sort of research also. So how can you do that? For updating Cape, you can use two PowerShell scripts. Okay, there are three methods. Two of them are quite easier one where you get, presented by these PowerShell scripts. What you have to do is you just have to right click on them and run as administrator, nothing else. The third step is basically, again going on to the website, clicking on download now, going through all of those steps again and again. So that is quite unnecessary in nature. So what you can do is simply either you can use this PowerShell script known as Cape Easy Tools Ancillary Updater, or what you can do is you can click on or you can use Get Cape Update. So these two are quite different in nature. How come? When I talk about get cape update.ps1, it will update your cape binary. This gcape and cape.exe, it will update it to the latest version and will make sure that some of your targets, which are targets or modules which you have, are updated in nature. That's it. But when I use Cape Easy Tools Ancillary Updater, it will make sure that my Cape and gcape are updated to the latest version. All of my targets and existing modules are updated to the latest version. Also, if there's any new update, new targets or modules which have been added onto GitHub, it will make sure that it will download the latest version of those and put it into the respective directories, whether it be your targets, whether it be your modules, right? So before coming on to advanced cape, let us look at a case study. I'll just briefly, introduce you via a case study where cape is quite, cape can be quite useful for your investigation. So let us consider a case study of an IP theft, you know, a case of IP theft, wherein an employee was in a particular organization for quite some time. He got to know what are the inside, functioning of an organization, what are the softwares they are making, and what all things they are working on, whether it be confidential or non-confidential in nature. One day, that particular employee, thinks of leaving that organization, and one day he leaves that organization. Simple. Now, after leaving his previous organization, he joins a new organization, and the previous employers comes to know that there's a new tool in market which functions quite similar to the one they were developing in their organization. So now that rings a bell that something there has been sort of theft within the organization. And the first, the first thing which comes to our minds or to the investigator mind is that it might be an insider job. It might be a disgruntled employee. It might be previous employee which has just, left and all. So in that case, what you can do is that once you get to know that, okay, it might be a work of some previous employee. So you need, what you can do is you can just jot down each and everything which is required for your investigations. If I tell you about a personal experience of mine, if I, ever came across such cases, so the most of the time, what are the relevant artifacts we need to see upon is such as your what are the USB logs, if anything was attached to the computer via the USB. Okay, what are the registry entry which has been made? Are there any sort of events which occurred during this whole duration? Are there any files or folders which had been opened well before, or was there any specific log on and log off time? So in those cases, once you find out what are your requirements, you make a list of what artifacts keep track of these. Once that is done, what you have to now do is just start your cape, create a profile, and that profile can be selecting these specific artifacts profile itself. Once that is done and you are just ready to go, you can just run on your system and KAPE will make sure to extract these files only and nothing else. Thus, it will allow you to save your time instead of imaging that 1 TB hard disk, 2 TB hard disk for 5 6 hours. You can get completed with the acquisition in matter of minutes, and thus you can even scale up. Like if for imaging you were being only able to do like 4 or 5 systems in a day, with triaging using cape, I guess you can even go up to like 10 20 systems, because it is quite faster in nature as compared to your normal forensic tools, right? So you do not need to image for grasping those particular things. And since cape also allows you to parse those extracted data, thus it makes it easier for you to even view it in a CSV format, in an HTML format, or even in JSON format, so that you can make quick decisions whether this system is useful for me to even image or not. So this is how you can make use of cape. So let us come on to the advanced cape section. Over here, I will be showing you how to, when you download Cape, what are the directories it shows, how to start with the how to start with Cape, and what we'll look at the alternative section also, that cape.exe also. So just give me a moment. I hope everyone is able to see my screen right now. Okay. So now when I've downloaded Cape, I will be presented by a zip file, which I have to extract it finally. Once I've extracted that particular zip file, I'll be getting this sort of folder which states Cape. I have to open it. Again, I'll be presented by two files. One is your Cape directory, one is your PS1 PowerShell script. Open your Cape. Now the main function of cape comes over here, which we need to get which we need to understand. Out of these so many files, the one which I'm interested in are specifically 4 files, out of which two are directories. One is your modules, the other one is targets. Modules contains, if I open it, it contains all of these subfolders which are responsible for parsing out the data you need. If I open this bin file, you can see over here you have several executables. Your jump list command line tool, then your shell bash command line tool, your link files command line tool. All of these tools which you see over here are majorly Eric Zimmerman's tool. Okay, you can Okay, sorry. So you can even add your particular parsers in this bin folder, so that KAPE can identify those tools and they can be used for your parsing techniques. For a comprehensive view, I'll just switch on to this particular file explorer. And if I again go on to this module sections, I will be seeing all of these folders. And now you can see a whole lot of view that what each of these folders contains, right? So this disabled folder over here contains various modules or the MKs over here. What it does is any sort of modules which are kept within this particular folder will make sure that KAPE cannot use these modules anyhow. They will not even show up on your GKAPE or in your normal command line based KAPE also, and thus they will be disabled. And if you want to enable them, just you just pull it out from this particular folder and place it wherever you need. And KAPE will automatically find it out, and it will allow you to parse those particular parts using this particular module. Then you have several local modules also, which I have added over here. Then you have this event parsers, then registry parser, as you can see over here, NT user, then SAM, security, software. Then these are some volatility modules. Okay. Then you have bulk extractor, and you can see there's a lot of modules which are included within this cape. So even you can see over here, it has Nirsoft related modules. And if I want to open them, what I can do is I can simply right click on them. I can click on open with, select notepad, and thus I can see what is the description of this particular MK which I'm using, what are the categories, okay? Then what are the main function over here? That is okay, this will be using a full event log view.exe. Then what is the command and argument which it will be using, and what is the export format it will be exporting the past data onto, right? Then if I go back a bit and if I go on to targets, so in targets also I see several subfolders. If I view them in a similar fashion which I did in modules, you can see that there are several options which are currently in your disabled section. Then if you see, there is a folder called antivirus, and antivirus consists of ours, AVG, Avira, Bitdefender, Securate, Sentinel, and whatnot, right? So what does this mean? This means that there are specific uh, targets which actually, let me just show you it once, which will be responsible for collecting any hours related AV logs. Okay, whether it be your XP, whether it be your non-XP Windows version, then user logs, any persistent data logs, anything which is related to ours can be acquired using this antivirus section. Then you have apps which consists of there's an app called One Password, or if there's any Ace Text 4K video downloader, then FileZilla. There are several support for various. Even you have Proton VPN also over it, right? So if you come across these artifacts in your system, you can leverage the CAPE's capability to acquire the data accordingly, right? Then you have browsers. In the browsers, you have support for Brave, then Chrome, Edge, then your Edge Chromium, then Firefox, Opera, Internet Explorer. And then the most interesting part over here is these compound files. Now, what are these compound files? These compound files are basically made up of two or more your target modules in itself. Example, if I specifically look for web browsers, so this web browsers.tcape will be referring to this section over here. So it is a basically complex web of interrelated tcape modules, or sorry, tcape targets. So as you can get maximum of data without clicking on each and every option individually, simply click on the master option. That is what compound files are. Then the other two important things over here are your GK and your KAPE. Before starting on to this, we need to make sure that whenever we are accessing GKAPE or KAPE in particular, GKAPE is your graphical user interface KAPE and KAPE.exe is your command line base. Both works, both work in a same way. There's no discrepancy whatsoever. In GKAPE, you only get a beautiful or elaborative graphical user interface. In KAPE, you just see that black and white screen of command line, nothing else. So before starting onto these, you need to make sure that you're running this as an administrator. If you're not an administrator, these tools simply not work. It will prompt you that you need to run it as administrator, and then you can, start acquiring the data. If I open this GKAPE, as you can see that it asks me for allowing it to make changes. Once that is done, it takes a matter of seconds to start. Once it starts, it looks like this. I hope everyone can see that. If not, I'll just change the skin accordingly. My personal favorite is basically a black skin, as dark mode is quite favorite of everyone nowadays. So if you want to change the skin accordingly, you can simply go on to skins and select accordingly. So coming on to the cape, so there are three scenarios which we'll be going through in a brief way. The first one is where I only want to acquire the data. In that case, I'll be clicking on use target options, right? Once that is done, just like my normal forensic software, I will be specifying the source from which I want to acquire data. In this case, is my OS drive, okay? And then where I want to dump this acquired data will be my destination. In this case, let us create a new folder, for example, T out. T out means target out, okay? I'll simply click on T out 2 and click on OK. Once that is done, the next thing I need to make sure is I'm selecting the appropriate profile, target profile over here. So as I stated before, the most common workflow, I'll be following the most common workflow right now, which is your KAPE triage. If I double click on this, you can see what all it will collect. It will collect data related to antivirus, cloud storages, event logs, evidence of execution. It actually is your prefetch and shift cache and certain other files. Then you have file systems such as your MFT. Forensic people may know about these artifacts, but those who do not know, your operating system consists of files which takes care of whatever things you're performing on an operating system, like your copy paste, right? Whether you've deleted a file, and even if you're running a program, that all of this is being kept somewhere in your operating system only, right? Then you have link files. Link files are nothing but your shortcut files which are being created. Then recycle bin info files only. Registry hives, remote access. Remote access, you might have heard of AnyDesk software or TeamViewer software. These are some example of remote access softwares. And schedule tasks, some, okay, a whole lot of, okay, it also contains it will also be taking out the web browser's data, then the Windows timeline. So I want to use KAPE triage, so I'll select this. Once that is done, all of this option is secondary in nature. Meaning, if I do not want any container, meaning I just want a say simple folder which will contain all of these files, so I can click on none. If I want to create a VHD or VHDX, which can be mounted onto a virtual hard disk, a virtual system such as Oracle, something like that. You can do that as well. Or if you want to create a simple zip folder, you can click on this and just specify the name. In this case, if I write %M, %M means from the system I'm acquiring, take the machine name of this system and create a folder based on this naming only. I'll keep it as none. Deduplicate means if there are two files which has the same content but are residing on a different location, keep either one of them only, thus saving your time. And this does not mean that it will modify anything and all, nothing like that. it will preserve each and everything, the file stamps and the metadata. VSCs are basically your snapshots or your restore points or the copies which you keep in order to, like, if there's some sort of miss happening in your system, you can just revert back to a particular time. Once that is done, I'll simply click on execute. Execute. Okay, before coming on, before executing, I'll just make sure that I'm enabling this option which says debug messages, so that if there's any sort of error which pops up, I can, go back to these messages and see where the things went wrong. I'll simply click on execute, click on OK. Now this graphical user interface is now logged. As you can see, I cannot do anything over here now. By default, it gets logged once this command line window starts. So it will work, since my system has a lot of data, it might take a minute or two for it to get completed. Right now, I'll just stop it. The other scenario which you can perform, or which I'll be telling you in brief right now, is the modules option. So what if I'm only interested in the parsed out information and I'm not interested in acquiring the data? What can I do is, I can simply specify that, okay, my artifacts which I'm trying to parse out reside in this C drive, okay, and I want data, the parse out data, to be in this particular folder, m out 2. Okay. So after this, I need to specify what type of parser do I need to run. As I stated before, easy parser are your best option for any new non-technical or newbies who are just entering into the field. They can simply select this. Make sure to select the export format according to your needs. In this case, I'll be putting a CSV. My debug messages are enabled, so that is a very good sign. And I click on execute. Again, it will ask me that, okay, flush options are enabled and all. Always make sure this flush option means if you have created a particular folder and it already contains data within it, clicking or enabling flush option would mean first deleting all of that existing data within that folder and then adding new data. If you do not want that to happen, just make sure to untick this so that previous data would stay there as it is and nothing would be deleted. Only new data will be added. Okay. Uh, Once I click on this, then it will again start to. Now, in this particular case, it is not acquiring, it is rather, it will start to parse out that data which it will find. Okay, as you can see, what all modules it will start to run. It says EVTX CMD, meaning it will run event logs, dump list, link files, MFT, and what. So it is finding matches for appcache.hive, right? So I just stop this also. It is, I would recommend you to use this on your own so as to get a hold on to Cape for how to use it. Now coming on to the third scenario, which most of us use, is using both of these options simultaneously. If I enable both of these options, it means I'm telling Cape that first I will acquire data from C drive, put that acquired data in my D drive with the folder oftout2. I'll make sure my module source is empty because by default it picks whatever the destination has been set over. Once that is done, I'll set the profile, what type of data I want to acquire. I'll specify my module destination where I want to put out the process data. I'll define the parser which is needed to parse out this particular data which will be acquired, export format, debug messages, and I'll click on execute. It will work in the similar fashion as in the previous two scenarios which I showed you, right? Accordingly, uh, whatever your output would be, I'll just show you how the output comes so that there's no confusion of what all information you'll be getting. So just give me a moment. Show you it in a bit. So I guess everyone can see my screen right now. So what if I were interested in event logs? So I'll go on to this folder which has the CSV output. If I open this, it will show me what all data was in my event logs. Right? EVTX means event logs. As you can see over here, it says the record number. Oh, okay. Let me just open it once again. So over here it says what is the record number, what is the ID, the event ID when it comes to investigate event logs. It's quite crucial in nature. What is the level, whether it is information, whether it is warning, who is the provider, the process ID, and certain information like that. So this is just an example of how you may get the data to see. You can either use this or you can just ingest it into a timeline explorer, another tool by Eric Zimmerman, which will help you out to plot in a timeline fashion. Like put each and every event according to the time, right? So hopping on to our presentation once again, this was how advanced KAPE works. Just a brief overview or a demo how the KAPE would work. Now let us come on to the remote acquisition part, right? Using KAPE. So in this particular scenario, before I jump onto the remote acquisition, I would just like to make sure that we know what are our requirements or the prerequisites. First of all, as I stated before, the latest version of CAPE on the collection system is highly appreciated. You need to know what is the IP address of the target system you're acquiring. If that target system is off internet, make sure that off internet, or it is on some other LAN. Make sure that you both are on the same connection itself, right? Then also the third point states that the firewall should be turned off on both the systems. Why am I saying that the firewall should be turned off on both systems? Why? Because in order to for both the systems to communicate with each other, they need to first acknowledge each other. That acknowledgement can be done via a command called as ping. Right? If I know the IP address and if I just put that IP address in front of ping command, it will start sending the packages and it will be like, okay, that we two can see each other now. If the firewall is turned on, that won't be possible. So either what you can do is you can turn off the firewall, or if you are technical in nature, you can create an exception in the firewall so as to not compromise the security and all, right? The last pointer is, which we'll be discussing in this particular webinar, is the network share of the folder or the directory or the file which is to be acquired. We need to network share that. Now, how to network share? Suppose if I have a local disk C over here, I click on that, I'll right click, I go on to properties. After going into properties, I need to go on to this sharing option. After that, you'll see an option called as advanced share. Click on that. Okay. Uh, Once that is done, you will be presented by this share. What should be the share name? Make sure to take this option, share this folder, click on permissions, and click on this full control. This will allow KAPE to extract data from this file, because this drive or this file would be easily accessible via network, right? Once that is done, now there are some set of commands which you can write it down if you want to, or I can even uh, publish it onto the chat as of now. Okay, so what are the steps you need to do after performing the network share is open up your command prompt, and what you need to do is now type the following command. The command is nothing but net space use, then space type any letter you like. It would be the drive data you are willing to give to the the network share. Then put a colon. Now you need to specify the IP address and the drive which has been shared. Whether is it a drive, whether is it a folder, you need to specify that. Once that is done, the right hand side, you can see if I want to, once the command was completed successfully, I wanted to check whether I wanted to verify actually whether my drive has been mapped or not. So how can I do that? I can simply type the command net use. Okay, this will tell me what all drives are mapped within my system. Once that is done, type the command dir and the letter you have assigned. In this particular case, I assigned the letter K, so I'll write dir K colon. If you would have assigned dir, for example, Z, or O or P, so in that case it would be dir Z colon dir O colon, something like that. What this will do is this will tell you, are there any sort of files within this directory or not. If the command has not completed successfully, you won't be seeing anything when you establish this command. Once that is done, now you can sit back and relax. You can take a step back and relax a bit because majority of the work has now been done. Now you have two ways to acquire the data. Either you can go on a technical mode and use the command line version of KAPE, or you can go on to the GKAPE graphical interface. And in the target section, if I show you again, uh, in the target source over here, if you click on these three buttons, and if your network enabled drive is currently over there, you will be presented by that option here, that drive over here. So in that case, you will be easily, you can easily acquire that, select that, and the step and all of the other steps are quite simple in nature. Okay. What if you want to use the command line version and not the graphical version, but you do not have a technical expertise? In that case, whatever you do on this graphical user interface, as you see, if I, untick this option, this command line, this command changes. If you take a look over here, if I just enable this tkeep, it builds up a command. What I can do is I can just simply copy this, right, and just paste it onto the command line and run it. Cape will work exactly the same as it will be using the gcape, right? So this is one thing. I also mentioned about that underscore cape.cli file. Now there are two ways to make those. Either you can simply formulate your recipe over here, click on files and click save cape.cli, or you can go on to a new notepad file like I did. I just type the command, or I can simply paste the command over here and save it as underscore cape.cli. So this way, I can create a CLI file. Now what I have to do is I just have to, uh, you know, I just have to run cape.exe. It will find where this file is right now and it will run it accordingly. And this is how you can acquire data using cape. So it is always good to know what are the other options apart from cape. So the other tools which can be used for remote collection or triage in basic sense are your OS forensics, your Binalize Air, your Magnet Axiom Cyber, your iSCSI, your Google Rapid Response or GRR. Then Autopsy, AD Triage, even Oxygen Forensic Detective can also be used for your remote collection. So this is all for today's webinar.
Thank you for watching the webinar. Subscribe to Third Eye Techno Solutions for more insightful webinars and content.